The following edition of News 10 aired live at 11 p.m. and is being rebroadcast as a service to our late-night viewers.
You're watching Philadelphia's NBC10.
Serving Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware.
Now live, this is News 10
at 11.
Damaging new evidence is revealed in the Eddie Werner murder case.
And it turns out the suspect will be forced to face the charges like a man. Good evening, I'm Larry Menting.
And I'm Renee Chenault. Our top story on News 10 at 11, startling new details in the Eddie Werner murder case. And for the first time, News 10 is using the name and picture of the suspect. He's 15-year-old Sam Manzi. Now, we're revealing his identity tonight because the judge has ruled Manzi will be tried in adult court for murder. News 10's Tracy Davidson is live in South Jersey with the full story. Tracy.
And Renee, today his lawyers did not contest that ruling. The judge decided that Sam Manzi should no longer be treated as a juvenile in the death of Eddie Werner. And ultimately, that means that if convicted, Sam Manzi faces life in prison without parole. This is 15-year-old Sam Manzi leaving his probable cause hearing in Toms River, minutes after a judge decided the teenager would be tried as an adult for the rape and murder of 11-year-old Eddie Werner back in September. Here's where it happened. Eddie was selling candy and wrapping paper in this Jackson Township neighborhood. Police say he knocked at the Manzi home where he was raped and murdered. His body was later found dumped behind those homes across the street. Tonight, neighbors I spoke with say this case has them stunned. What they learned today is even more disturbing. While Eddie's parents listened in court today, prosecutors talked about a Polaroid, a trophy photo they say was taken in Manzi's bedroom.
Which depicted the victim, little Eddie, lying with his stomach down in the bedroom.
Well, the crime's bad enough, but I think it makes it a little worse. And it shows how mentally ill he is.
There's a child dead, and he's probably going to go to jail for the rest of his life, and there's two families that are ruined.
That they're being tried him as adult,
Yeah.
I think it's bad.
Why?
Because he's 15, and that's the law.
So not everyone in Jackson Township agrees with the judge's ruling. Still, Sam Manzi faces arraignment tomorrow on murder charges as an adult. Live in South Jersey, Tracy Davidson, News 10.
Tonight, a possible gas explosion triggered a building fire in Philadelphia. News 10 on the scene at 7th and Cumberland in West Kensington. Officials say a fire broke out in the building at around 6:20 this evening. Firefighters quickly put it out. Nobody was hurt. The building housed a convenience store and apartments. Fire officials and Philadelphia Gas Works are right now investigating. Police need your help tonight in finding a suspect in what could be yet another attempt to grab someone's child. Take a close look at this surveillance tape from an incident on Monday. Detectives believe this man in a dark bomber jacket tried to take a woman's baby at Redner's Market in Richland Township, Bucks County. After news of this attempted abduction got out, a woman told police a similar man followed her in the parking lot of an Acme in nearby Quakertown just hours earlier. Police in Burlington County tonight have charged these two teenagers with felony murder. Authorities accuse 15-year-old Brian Dennis and 16-year-old Michael Johnson in the beating death of an elderly Pemberton man. Detectives say the pair broke into the man's house to rob him a week ago on Sunday. The victim, 77-year-old John Montague, died last Sunday. The robbers took $27 and a portable phone. Tonight, local parents are reeling from news that a school principal is facing pornography charges. 37-year-old Stephen Davidson was in charge at Delran Intermediate School in Burlington County, New Jersey, but he lives in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. And that's where News 10's Siani Lee is live with that story tonight. Siani.
Good evening, Larry. Residents say that Stephen Davidson has lived here on Wexford Road for about 7 years with his wife and 2 young children. Now, he was arrested yesterday. He turned himself in, but this news is quite a shock to the people who live in this quiet neighborhood. 37-year-old Stephen Davidson turned himself into authorities shortly before 7 o'clock last night. He is charged with possessing child pornography. Davidson, who was a principal at Delran Intermediate School, resigned on February 10th. The same day, investigators say a co-worker found 12 computer-generated photos of child pornography inside his office. Until today, many of Davidson's neighbors knew nothing of the charge against him. They find it all hard to believe.
It's a shock. And, you know, obviously I hope that there's some kind of answers.
It's a sad thing.
Others are defending Davidson, calling him a good and honorable man.
I don't care what anyone says or what they found. He was set up.
Davidson has been released by authorities as he waits for his court date. His family has not been home for a few days, though, and he could face up to 18 months in prison on this fourth-degree charge of possessing child pornography. Live in Ben Salem, Siani Lee, News 10.
Tonight, Philadelphia has a new police commissioner. John Timoney, formerly of New York City's police department, will take over the 6,000-member force in Philadelphia. Here's the file on John Timoney. He was born in Dublin, Ireland, moved to New York City as a child. He's 49 years old, married with 2 children, and holds 2 master's degrees. Timoney was a 29-year veteran of the New York City police force and rose to deputy police commissioner. But he quit last March when he wasn't promoted to the top job. Now, Timoney is credited with helping to restructure New York's police department, a move that sent the crime rate there plunging. Tonight, I talked with Commissioner Timoney about his plans for Philadelphia. First on Timoney's agenda as Philadelphia's top cop.
The very first step in the process, though, is to get timely and accurate information regarding the incident of crime. Once we can lay that out, when in fact is crime happening, where is it happening, then we can talk about redeploying officers, because by and large, most police departments in this country, the police departments are not deployed correctly.
The mayor went outside of the ranks. How do you respond to that?
I understand that, and I would have had the same feelings myself. So now that's my problem. I've got to deal with that, particularly the upper ranks. I've got to speak to those individuals on a one-to-one basis, let them know they are part of the team.
A team that in the past has called upon the community to help fight the crime problem.
How realistic is that, given some of the problems that exist in our communities?
That is a great question, because far too many police administrators all over this country have used that as an excuse not to do their job. They say, well, you know, we can't do it alone without the community's support. It's up to us. It's our job. We've got to win their confidence. We've got to go out there and do the job, lead by example.
Timoney says he plans to do just that by being out on the street. Now, even though the job is administrative, Timoney says he refuses to get bogged down in what he calls administrative minutia. He says he will be hands-on. Timoney starts March the 7th.
Well, it's hard to believe, but the man who took us out to the ball game so many times has died tonight.
Veteran broadcaster Harry Carey died 4 days after suffering a heart attack.
News 10's Vi Sikahema is here with more on the baseball legend who never, ever played a game.
Yeah, Larry and Renee, you know, the 7th-inning stretch may never be the same. Harry Carey was a Hall of Fame announcer who covered baseball's greats from Musial to Mays to Maddox, and he was famous for firing up the crowd with a 7th-inning song. Harry Carey broadcast his first Major League game back in 1945. He became a national legend as announcer for the Chicago Cubs. Few sports figures were as loved as Harry Carey. He collapsed in a California restaurant over the weekend as he took his wife out to celebrate Valentine's Day. Now, coming up in sports, we'll have local reaction to the death of Harry Carey. And as I'm sure the baseball season is still over a month away, Major League Baseball will find a way to properly honor Harry Carey.
He's quite a legend.
Yeah, he is.
He'll be missed. Thanks, Vi.
Okay.
Tonight, the reviews are in on a town hall meeting on Iraq, and they are not good. What was supposed to be a tamed town meeting became a forum for protests in America's heartland over Operation Desert Thunder, which is gaining momentum in the Gulf right now. President Clinton sent his foreign policy team to Ohio to defend the administration's threat to bomb Iraq into compliance. But often the most compelling words came from the audience.
Are we willing to send troops in and finish this job, or are we going to do it half-assed and ask my grandson and some of these other grandsons to put their lives on the line?
The Secretaries of State and Defense were both taunted by protesters.
I really am surprised that people feel that it is necessary to defend the rights of Saddam Hussein.
You're not answering my question, Madam Albright.
Does Saddam Hussein have the moral right to use weapons of mass destruction, chemicals and biologicals?
Tonight, Iraq is saying the town meeting shows a lack of consensus in the U.S. for a military attack. Now, the town hall meeting was watched all around the world, but especially by Republicans on Capitol Hill. Many of them are calling it a disaster. But the official line from the White House is, this is just the way.
Volunteer to record selected programs for teachers to use in class.
Okay, now what do we learn here today?
Now, Cable in the Classroom comes home.
In this half hour, the Good Morning Forecast, a comprehensive look at today's weather across the nation. At 40 After, TravelWise focuses on today's travel problems. Next, your weekend outlook. And at 50 After, the storm update. Right now on the Weather Channel, your local forecast.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Result, and in a moment we're going to take a look at your morning weather from west to east. But first, a little more on El Nino. NASA has released some new data concerning El Nino and its effects on rainfall throughout the world. Rich Johnson gives us the details in tonight's El Nino Focus.
If you ever wanted to see what El Nino looks like, this is as close as you can get. These are the latest sea surface temperature readings from NASA, and you can certainly see, in red, the warm waters that make up El Nino. Recently, areas from California to Florida have experienced heavy rainfall. And as Antonio Busolacci of NASA explains, scientists are continuing their study.
What we're showing here is how the rainfall level has changed from normal throughout the world. So it's as if we had rain buckets around the world, and we're showing how much excess rainfall, which is the green colors, and for example in the eastern tropical Pacific, that excess, that surplus of rainfall is 6 to 9 feet more than normal during 1997. And over areas such as Indonesia, it's as if we took away 5 to 6 feet more rainfall than normal, and that's the areas where we had the intense fires and forest fires over the past year.
What will El Nino bring for the rest of 1998? We'll keep you informed on the latest conditions in your area. I'm Rich Johnson, the Weather Channel.
Oh, we certainly will keep you informed. We know now that we are dealing with more wet weather out to the west, and a lot of these storms kind of El Nino induced or helped along by the whole El Nino factor. You can see more moisture moving on to the west coast. This particular system, a lot of the energy, the strongest part of it, is going to move on into northern and central portions of California. We are looking at some of that moving on into the Pacific Northwest as well. But again, the heaviest rains, the strongest winds, most likely most of that moisture and wind will be moving on into this region here. So that puts the Bay Area kind of in the bullseye zone. I'll be talking about some rain for you. The rain will steadily get heavier as we head through the overnight into the morning, and the winds probably peaking late morning into the afternoon around San Francisco Bay. By the way, some of those gusts with those southeasterly winds could easily be up to around 50 miles miles per hour. So if you're not in a sheltered area, if you live along the coast or you live in the higher elevations, be prepared for some dangerous winds. Showery weather here. It's more of a steady rain pattern until the front passes through, then becoming more showery by the afternoon. But I wanted to point out that it's generally from the Bay Area on northward in the morning where most of your problems will be. Then as the front swings on shore, you could see some of that rain heading down towards Santa Barbara and LA. Into the upper Midwest we go. Problem here with some fog. Visibilities at times could be reduced to as low as near zero. But along with that, temperatures dropping close to the freezing point may also mean maybe a little thin layer of ice forming on some of the pavement, particularly on the bridges and the overpasses. So you could find some very slick conditions out there. Keep that in mind. And there is a little area with some light snow. It's been kind of a persistent region where you could find maybe an inch of some snowfall. The rain continues into the northeast, Boston and New York City looking at a chance for some rain. Dry for you, Charlotte, Atlanta, down toward Tampa, but from the Big Easy back out to just east of Houston looking at some showers. Most of the activity should be pulling out of Houston toward the morning rush hour. Here's a peek at the morning lows. Nothing too terribly cool out there, and we'll watch as we head through the day on Thursday for our moisture to move on out. But we have another disturbance moving through the northeast. It's going to kind of keep some of the showery weather there. Nothing heavy expected here. That's the good news, but just some nuisance rain. Our low that brought some strong thunderstorms on into parts of Texas moves along the south and southeast, so that will bring some more rain into Huntsville and Birmingham as we go into the afternoon on Thursday. And of course there's our front swinging on shore by late Thursday, such that you'll find some of that rain around Malibu and LA by Thursday evening. So that's a look at your Thursday in a glance. Again, precipitation amounts fairly light in the northeast. You will find some snow, the most significant snow extreme northern Maine. Again, significant snow here too. Maybe 3 to 6 inches, and in some cases 6 to 12, the very highest peaks heading on up into northern Sierras and the Cascades, some advisories up as well. Quick peek here at your high temperatures for Thursday. Nice and mild along the Gulf Coast and heading on up toward the mid-Atlantic. And one more recap with our moisture in the northeast. This system kind of persistent. This one will move across the deep south. And there you can see the moisture poised to move on to the west coast. Is there more rain in your future, LA and San Francisco? We're going to check that out now as we take a look at your extended travel outlook. This will take you from coast to coast.